All right, well, again, listen, everyone, thank you so much for attending. I know how busy everybody is in this market. So we are excited to bring three super incredibly talented agents, team leaders, broker owners. Three of them are personally friends of mine, so I was happy that they took time out of their busy schedule so they could come here and share with everybody in the crowd. I always say the best people to learn from are the ones that are out there doing it at a high level, and I know I always seek that out, so I'm really proud to have them here. So I just want to do a quick introduction. Some of you might know our first panelist. He's been around here a couple times before in the past. Unfortunately, one of our panelists, Nicole, had a family emergency and she couldn't come today. So we had to call in the one and only Mr. Peter Pocket Pete Grosso.
Hello, everybody.
Pocket Pete does not need a microphone, probably. You'll see that. So,
Damn right.
Pete is from Long Island, and he came in to share again with what he does. Our second panelist is all the way from Grand Rapids, Michigan, Rachel Veldcamo. She is a team leader and speaker.
Hey, everybody.
So we really appreciate her taking the track. It was a little bit further than coming from Long Island. And lastly, we have from upstate New York, a friend of mine who I've known for a few years now, Howard Payson. Howard. So there's one rule I have for today is, and anybody who's known me, seen me speak or anything, one thing I truly hate is the people who are on YouTube with a YouTube channel telling you how to do things and telling you how to build your business and telling you how to do all of this, but they've never really done anything, right? They've read it in a book, they regurgitate it. I wanted to bring three panelists who are out there and just doing it at a high level that are real and authentic. So the one rule I have for today is we're going to keep today real and authentic because there's a lot of BS out there on social and YouTube about real estate. So that's why I want to keep it very real and very authentic. And the other moderator today is the gentleman on the other end. If you don't know him, my partner in the Cranford office, Olivier Lewis. Olivier.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to see such a filled room. This is a great crowd. This is Carl and I's favorite event, and we're thrilled to have Pete, Rachel, and Howard really unpack their business, their markets, the different things that happen, and just share. So hopefully we all get some nuggets today, and really, as Carl mentioned, these are team leaders, agents that are doing it. So that's what excites us about what's going to get unpacked today.
So let's get started. We'll start with Pete. Tell us a little bit about your story. How did you end up here today? How did how did you get into the business and into the seat you are right now?
All right. Hello, everybody. I can't sit. I'm going to stand for a second. So my name is Peter Grosso, Pocket Pete. I sort of fell into real estate in that I used to be in construction. I was an iron worker, and I was walking across a beam. The fast version is I fell. I broke my ankle, my leg, and my back, and I had to reinvent myself. So I learned about real estate. I self-taught myself about real estate and economics, and then I threw myself into it. And it was the greatest choice I ever made. And I'm standing here probably the most important thing I can tell you, and then everyone can go home, is if I can do it, a construction worker that just landed and self-taught himself how to do it, there's no stopping any of you.
That's great. Pete, and where did you learn all your economics information?
So what's interesting is I was laid up. So iron workers, when they get hurt, they get hurt, typically they drink or drink. But I wasn't at the time wasn't a big drinker. I've taken it up since. So anyone wants to buy me a drink later, you're welcome to. But the financial crisis had just happened. I was super curious about why, and I found on iTunes Yale University was sharing for all their students so that all their classes. So I took Econ 101, 102, 103. I took some some philosophy classes and some other things where I just kind of self-taught myself Yale and Harvard economics. So I'm somewhat Harvard educated.
Our Ivy League educated panelists. That's great. And the reason I said that, and I know Pete's story, is he also just went out there and got the resources and learned what he wanted to do on his own, self-motivated. And I think that's great. So Rachel, how about you? Tell us a little bit about your story. How'd you get into real estate and they're here today?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you guys for having me today. This is great to be here, and I'm happy to share with all of you. I started in the business 15 plus years ago and I got recruited by my best friend's husband who had our house listed. Unlike Pete, I don't have a Harvard degree, but I do have a degree in psychology, and at the time I was going back to get my PhD, and I decided, you know what, let me try this. I'm kind of sick of school. And that's when I started in a small office with a bunch of men, there's nothing against men, but I didn't get a ton of direction. And I like to say, instead of being Harvard educated through my real estate career, I was Google educated through my real estate career. But then right after I started, the market tanked, of course. And I did continue to go through that downturn, and that's part of the reason I think that I have a great amount of experience. And then it was about 10 years later when I left that small local company and I went to a RE/MAX office. And at that time I was hoping to grow a team. And about 6 months after I joined that company, the owners of that company they wanted to retire, and they asked if I would want to take over the company. So now I am a team leader and a broker owner of a company of 130 agents. So.
Awesome, great story. Howard, tell us a little bit about your story and how you got here today.
So about 11 years ago, my best friend called me up and he said, at the time I was a Walmart store manager, he said, how would you like to get to a job where you can never get fired? And since that day, I don't think I've ever been fired, but I fired myself besides. So I've been in the business 12 years. I'm a broker owner. I run a team of 7, about an hour and a half away from here. So thank you guys for having me. Really self-taught, YouTube educated, not Harvard, SUNY school, so that's, State's University. And really just kind of taking it day by day, failing more times than I've succeeded, and just learn from there. So thank you guys for having me.
And Howard, going on that, talk a little bit about what some of your biggest challenges have been in your real estate career, and vice versa. What are some of your biggest successes? And I always like asking the challenge question because on social media, you always see everybody's highlight reel, and you don't see the challenges that go behind the highlight reel. So talk a little bit about some of your challenges and biggest successes.
So I think my earliest challenge is that, I started when I was about 24, 25, and I was in a market initially where it was, very tight niche. And through expireds for sale by owners, my office will tell you I'm still in the office Monday through Friday, 7, hitting the phones from 8 to 10, and then just going off on there. Really helped me get through it. I really focused on lead generation and lead follow-up. It was more the follow-up where, especially 6, 7 times I touched someone in a couple of months, they're like, you don't stop. And I said, you're right. So you want me to stop? Hire me. But from there, what really helped our business grow was, unfortunately, my father had Alzheimer's, and my mother had a stroke within a month of that. And what happened was, I couldn't, run buyers all the time. So I had to come up with a system that I could work in the morning, sleep in the afternoon, or go on an appointment, and then take care of my dad at night. So for me, it was about really creating the most amount of leverage. And that turned into helping other team members create their own leverage. We all have our own situations. We all have different, I have a 3-year-old, I love him to death, and I love spending so much time with him. And that was so resonating with a lot of my team members that we're very listing focused so that we get what we have to get done and then we can enjoy our life. And that's kind of been a success and a challenge for me at the same time.
That's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. How about you, Pete? What have been some of your biggest challenges and some of your biggest successes?
So the biggest challenge obviously is just getting the momentum and creating something that once you get the momentum, creating something sustainable. So like the biggest challenge early on was, how do I get people to call me? How do I get people to want me? And so that happened through just like, I tried everything. I tried door knocking, I tried cold calling, and what I found was what worked for me was the referral system that I've taught here before. But once I found I started to get momentum through social media videos and through just like serious networking, then I had to figure out what was broken. How do I continue to do the things I love to do? Where like I put somebody under contract, I wanted to keep that relationship. I wanted to create something special so that I could build a business the way I'd be comfortable doing it for 30 years. And that was the biggest challenge, was figuring out how to create that very special experience so that I could live and build a business the way I like to build it.
And we're going to unpack some of that system later, so you don't leave early, because you're going to miss exactly what Pete does to generate all this business through referrals.
And it sounds like through the challenge, you came up with the success, right? That you had that challenge, how do I create this experience? And that led to the success of creating what you did create.
Right, like every time there are no problems, right? There's opportunities to create something special. I love having problem clients. I love having bad situations. Anytime any of my agents are complaining about how hard a deal is, I'm like, thank God you get to show your value. And sometimes when there's problems, you say, thank God I get to uniquely solve a problem that's going to stand out. And I found a way to stand out in so many ways because of the problems I was seeing. So I want those problems. I want more problems. If I don't have problems, I can't. One, I'm not challenging myself at the level I need to be at to make my life better, and I'm not creating something that's uniquely special.
That's awesome. Rachel, how about you? Tell us a little bit of some of your challenges and successes in the business.
So mine is twofold. It's both for business and for personal life. I started my career, like I said, with a small independent brokerage. We didn't have a ton of resources. We didn't have a lot of tools. And I didn't realize what RE/MAX had at the time. Carl's been sharing some of his stuff at his office, and it's just amazing, like some of the resources that you guys have there. So definitely plug into them. But going back to that, I started with no tools and didn't really know what I was doing, but I still had the energy and the discipline to gain momentum rather quickly in my career. And while I was doing that, I didn't really set things up like a business, and I didn't have those systems and processes in place to do that. And started working 70 plus hours a week while I was raising my 3 kids. And I got so burned out. And so I wanted to know if there was a better way to do real estate because I loved it, but I didn't want to have the regret of missing any more time with my kids. And so that was really like, my regret kind of motivated me to find a different way. I joined RE/MAX, realized all the things I could plug into that I wouldn't need to do that would help me free up time. And so when we purchased the brokerage, my mission for my team and for the brokerage is to just give agents everything that they need in order to do the dollar producing activities, the listing, the prospecting, and selling. And if we can help you do all of that, and you can help team members or you can help yourself do that, then you have the ability to live an abundant life and structure your schedule in a way that you don't get burned out.
Well, going into that, Rachel, tell us a little bit about your business. Volume, how much buy side, sell side, a team, individual. You can kind of share with everybody how your business is structured.
Brokerage or team?
Or your team.
Oh, my team, we do an average about 100 transactions a year. I currently have 2 agents on my team, and then I have a full-time licensed assistant who's also sort of an office manager. She answers a lot of the questions from my team members, so I can still do things for the brokerage. And I have another assistant who helps with marketing as well.
Pete, how about you? Tell us a little bit about your structure, individual, team, how many transactions, volume?
So for my team, we sell probably about 100 houses a year. I have 4 buyer's agents. I list maybe 55, 60 houses a year. The rest are buyers. I have a transactional coordinator. I have a VA. And I have a front desk that helps me through that as well.
So you're listing 60 houses a year in this current market?
Well, we're flowing into this current market, so I'll let you know.
No, that's great, but a lot of that's mindset too, and the way you have your business set up is because one of the struggles we're hearing from agents is getting listings is more challenging than ever. And so the listings are still out there. The listing inventory, when you don't have it, there's no listing inventory, but the listing inventory is still out there. Howard, how about you?
So I'm a predominantly listing agent. I carry anywhere between 50 to 60 listings at a time. I've been doing that for the last 6 years. We usually do about 100 to 120. It's about an 80-20 rule. 80% are listings, 20% buyers. We do about 40 million roughly. I have a director of operations, a listing / social media coordinator, and then 4 team associates. I don't really designate people buyers or listing specialists. I think you should be diverse. Balance is key. That's my challenge with our team is get the buyers up a little bit. And to kind of hit your point on it is, especially in the shifting market, it's really about finding the motivated. And that's, in a seller's market, it's finding motivated sellers. And the change is going to be finding motivated buyers. I mean, we've all been in the business a long time, and I think the key is really understanding how that shift is and your message. So that's been my success with that.
Let's take a step back to before running the team when you guys were individual agents. At what point did you get help, and what was the first person that you hired?
So for me was within 6 months, especially given my personal situation. I recommend having a TC or a director of operations. One of the nice things that I did, which was so crucial to me, was Monday through Friday, 9 to 5, all my calls go through my director of operations. So especially if clients need me, they have someone available. My voicemail's never full, and especially if anybody needs to get a hold of me right away, and we're in an appointment like this, I want to show respect to you guys. My phone's never going to ring, yet my clients know that there's always someone accessible. So I think if you don't have an assistant, you are one, but more importantly is the leverage and power you can get from that. It should be done right away.
Pete?
Yeah, I did it all wrong. So my second year I sold 47 houses, and I agreed to purchase the brokerage that I was working at. So I hit maximum capacity and then some, and then said, maybe I need a hand. And it was chaos. And I agree with everything Howard's saying. That's how you should do it. I instead just grabbed my first buyer's agent and said, just go. And I had to just throw them at the wolves because I didn't have the time or the capacity, and I had to step back and figure out how to train, how to do the things that actually create a solid team, which I'm still learning and still growing with. But you should look at your business and know, like, once you hit like an 80% capacity, whatever that's defined for you, then you need help so you can knock yourself back down to 50% capacity, get yourself an assistant or transactional coordinator or something that puts you back down to 50 so that you can work your way up back to 80. You'll be making a lot more money. Then you can get that second person, whether it's the assistant or the transaction coordinator. Then you're back to 50 again, and now you're just flowing up to now maybe a buyer's agent or maybe somebody on your team. But you cannot scale with flow if you wait until you're at 100% capacity. It's just not going to work, and there's going to be a lot of pain, which I went through, to backpedal and then fix the problems that caused by the growth I wasn't prepared for.
How about you, Rachel? So you didn't start off day one as a team. When did you decide to create leverage?
Well, I did it like you, Pete. I did it way too late. And that's why I think my opinion is you need to hire an assistant is sooner rather than later when you get to that, 80% capacity. I also think that there's things that you can do to leverage, things from your brokerage that like closing coordination, the listing coordination, all those things that you guys provide for them are amazing tools. So that if you're not ready to make the plunge and hire somebody full-time or even part-time, you're still doing just, you're getting those things away from you that aren't the dollar producing activities, and you're spending time on the things that are going to make your success happen that much sooner. So,
And one question I have too, because a lot of people here hire an assistant. Where have you guys had the best luck finding your assistant? Like, sort of, what is the process of, hey, I need an assistant? Because I shared the story the first time I hired an assistant. It was the first person to respond to the ad. I told them what I needed to be done. They needed a job and told me they could do it, and it lasted a week, right? So talk a little bit about how did you find your admin staff? What was a little bit of that process, if you don't mind sharing?
Yeah, so my transactional coordinator came with taking on the brokerage. So that was by luck, is that she was already part of it, and I just tapped in. But I also got myself an assistant just through family and friends. It was one of my close friends' kids, and I made her a runner. I made her an assistant. I just had her next to me at all times, had her learn what works for me, what she can take off my plate, and she took the initiative. So I gave her a test run, allowed her to kind of understand what I do, how she can add value, and then it just worked for a long time. And then when she got her life aspirations and wanted to go be a doctor, I had to start all over again, which made me happy and sad. So now I sort of did the same thing where I had someone else's daughter be my runner, assistant, did everything for me, and then now she's an agent, and she's putting, she's in her second month. She's put, I think, 5 deals under contract so far. So now she doesn't have time for me, so I need someone else's daughter or son. But that's how I found my people. It's just my sphere. Because one, it allows you to do, again, more outreach, right? Outreach is everything. So like, hey, I'm growing, I'm doing this. This is how wonderful I am. I want to even employ friends or family or whoever. So like, I'm always thinking about networking. So it's another reason for me to call people and check in and tell them that I'm doing great and I want to help someone in your life.
Okay, Rachel?
I have hired some people word of mouth, but I've also had to hire outside of word of mouth, and that can be difficult, especially I think right now where employment is pretty easy to find most anywhere. And so my process though is I don't want to sit and interview a bunch of people that aren't going to be good candidates. And I have a really actually good track record of hiring people that stay with me for a while. And I think my agents would say that my staff is really good. So I'm pretty proud of that. But I think part of that is because of the process that I put the candidate through before I actually pull them into an interview. And so right now I use WiseHire, and so my ads go on WiseHire. I have a process that's outlined on WiseHire on all of our ads there that says if you want to apply for the job, here's the steps that you need to do. You can submit your resume right on there, but I don't want them to do that. I want them to submit a PDF to an email address for one of my staff. And that's the first step. Then once they've done that, there's a second step on there that says they have to call a Google Voice number and they have to leave a message for why they are the best candidate for the job. And then after that, they have an interview conversation on the phone. If they've done both of those, I like their resume. They have an interview conversation on the phone with one of my staff members, or you could do that yourself if you don't have a staff. And then after that, I pull them in. If they answer those questions correctly, I pull them in for a face-to-face meeting. So
That's a great process, because if they can't do the first 4 things right and they're not detail-oriented, when you hire them, they're probably not going to be detail-oriented. So I love that. We have a very similar screening process, so you make sure you're in front of the best candidates possible. Howard?
So especially starting out, I couldn't afford an assistant being a 24-year-old kid. So what I did is I went to the 2 local high schools, and I asked them if there was anyone that they could give, high school credit for. And turns out they actually gave me 2 people, one for social media and one for business administration. From there, it just turned into my sphere, but I also run Indeed ads. I run a very similar process to what you guys do. I actually will do a video, interview with them, where I'll ask them to submit a video instead of a voicemail to see how good they are in front of camera, if they're nervous, or if they can really do, multiple different assets. But really, our culture kind of really brings us more people because our title, our mortgage affiliates, they hear when we have opportunities, they're like, oh, you should talk to so-and-so. They're in an opportunity where they're not really happy, and they come to us. So it took a while, but especially when I first started onboarding and getting through that, like Pete did, follow me around, see what I do what I do, and just take as much off my plate. And my first hire, who's actually been my only hire for that, I've hired so many other people for over my career, I said to my executive assistant, Gene, I said, Gene, I only have enough money to pay you for 3 months. So what that means is I have to actually just focus on listings. If we get enough listings, we'll have enough money to pay you. And she's never left me in 10 years. So we worked up to that, but the great thing is that if you don't have the finances for it, find someone's daughter or son, go to the college, ask for an intern, and work it from there. So there are ways to create automatic leverage for yourself, and I think that's just, people are afraid of, how am I gonna be accountable to someone else to pay their livelihood? Well, you want someone who's an entrepreneur, who's gonna wanna build something with you and help you grow. That's honestly the best people. My chief marketing officer, CJ's here. He is so in that, and he started out as an intern and grew into that position. So it does work.
I want to add to that for a second. You don't have to give them 40 hours.
No.
What I did is I paid them a little extra, but said, I don't even know I'm gonna need you. And I only paid when the value of the task was worth more than my time. So like if I needed someone to run contracts somewhere, I would just text them, you available? And then they would do it. I would say, I'm going to this event. I want you to just be my camera girl. Are you available? And that's it. So like, if I had a slow week, which I didn't, thank God, I would have no work for them, and I only paid them for the hours that I needed them.
Yeah.
I would say too, just not to belabor this, but I think this is a good tip. You don't have to feel like when you're hiring someone in that you're hiring them for a year. I always take the mindset of set the expectation right up front that this is a 90-day trial period, and then after 90 days, we'll review it and see if it's a permanent position. And that's easier for some people to swallow when they're trying to hire someone, to say, and then that expectation is set from the beginning so that person knows that review process is coming up and that they might not have a job after that time.
And I just want to finish one point off about the assistant or the help. Most people view it as an expense. It should be viewed as an investment, because not only can they give you referrals, but they give you your most important asset back, and that's your time. How much are you, think about how much are you worth per hour, and if you're doing something that's not worth that and is less, and you can leverage it to someone else, I mean, that's the ultimate business plan. So just think about, if you don't have an assistant right now, or you want to bring someone on, it's not an expense, it's an investment. Investment in them and an investment in yourself.
Awesome, that's awesome. Before we switch gears off this topic, how about buyer agents? You hit your 80% capacity, you have opportunities, you have leads, you can't service them all. What do you guys look for in a buyer agent? Rachel, you want to start?
Well, I look for multiple things, but definitely somebody who's driven, somebody who is hungry. I often try to find candidates who have played high school or college sports. Ones that, know how to work on a team and be on a team and enjoy being on a team, I think are important. But also just, they have to hold the same values as our team, and good ethics. Those are also important. But you can't really hire a buyer's agent, in my opinion, until you have an assistant, because if you don't have an assistant, then that buyer's agent just comes on board and you're just throwing them leads, and that's not a good way to help them succeed.
Where have you sourced somebody? So if someone's in the crowd now and they're watching, they say, I really want to add a buyer's agent, they're having trouble sourcing some, where would you source buyer's agents to join your team?
Well, a lot of my agents have been brand new agents, but I think we've been most successful with putting ads, like Google ads up, but also just, talking to, I've done some real estate speeches at different colleges in the area of people that are, wanting to get into it, or high schools. And so I usually just word of mouth those things, but I think ads are always important. We keep a constant ad up for new agents.
And if anyone's listening, Wise Hire, you can do admin staff and ads for buyer's agents all in one shot. So that's great. How about you, Pete? Pocket?
So for me, it's been people that sit down. When I sit with them, they understand our systems, our culture. They buy into our process, and that they're full time, and they understand the business model that we come through, and they can follow the steps that I laid out. Because what's important for me is that we're building a unified brand, that we're all doing at least, I'll have 7 or 8 things that no matter what, no matter how big we get or how small we are, when they work with us, these 6 things happen. So that when we're referred or when people see our logo, they understand, they see that logo, they know this is what they get. So as long as they buy into that, they understand, and they're willing to work hard, and they're not part-time, that's where I'm willing to give them a chance.
What are those 6 things?
We're getting into this now. So it's the process of. Am I laying this out? Should I do this? Yeah.
Go right ahead.
All right. Hi, everybody. So it's how we show up is very important. So like I always say, my mother taught me never to show up empty-handed. So anytime you first meet somebody, you're showing up with cannoli, or you're showing up with cookies or something to break bread with them, whether it's a listing appointment or a buyer's appointment. That's step 1, is building that personal rapport. And then as the process goes on, we have a series of gifts and actions that we're constantly taking. So at the home inspection, they get a book that's branded to us. It's called the Home Inspection Recollection. This way, we're handing them something. Then we bring cookies. We bring something to make it personal and make it home. And then once they're under contract, they get this big, beautiful under contract box, and that box is completely branded to us. Inside it is a handwritten note, of course. That's very important. Then all the phone numbers they're going to need throughout the whole process. Then there's branded chocolate bars. Then there's little Hershey Kisses with my Pocket Pete head right at the bottom of there. And then a pen that's personally is again personally branded on the box. And then it's a beautiful wooden pen for them to sign their deed with, or the paperwork at the closing table. Then every week they get mailed a gift from me, starting with 2 free beers and 2 free pizzas at Gino's Pizza. Then they get 5 free games of bowling for up to 5 people. Then they get a massage therapist who will come to their house and give them a massage. I don't give the massage, just so you know. I need to be very clear about that. Then they have someone come to their house and wash their car, and leave a little washed by Pocket Pete thing gets thrown into the car, and it goes on and on until the closing date, where either right before or once they move into their house, they get a professional chef who will come to their home and cook them their first or last date night meal. So with that, now we're adding an airplane. So,
The Pocket Pete Express.
the Pocket Pete Express, so just to prove that we go above and beyond. So we do all those things to connect create an experience that is completely unmatched, but then also connect with all those local vendors that are now super advocates to sending me business because they know that I'm sharing them. They want to share me back. They feel all the things that everyone here feels. They had a great year, and then January 1st comes and it was a fluke. I'm going out of business. I'm never going to make it in this business. I had a good 10 years, but really it was an accident. And we all feel that way, and so do the local businesses, so do the people that you're connected with that do great work. So you put them all together and you create this massive advocacy of people that want to share you. And that's the premise of my system, and I need that energy and that type of enthusiasm from my buyer's agents.
Does anyone want to buy a house through Pete? Anybody? That's awesome. So Howard, how about you? Where do you find your buyer's agents? And
So, wow, Pete, I'm just going to say.
Hi.
I hope I already got too many notes. So I'm a little different in that my family doesn't like to cook. We actually go out. So there's really two top places that we find a lot of great buyer agents is Verizon and AT&T and restaurant bartenders. And I found that so many people that have great customer service that if you can sell a phone, you can sell a house. So we've seen so many people come from the car business, especially I have 3 amazing agents where they were the online lead specialists, where people would inquire on Carfax and would be so dialed into just hammering the phones, calling, that it really resonated to them that they were getting pennies to the dollar. I was like, why don't you make a lot more? And especially showing a house, you're not selling a house, you're selling a lifestyle. And that's where if you can have someone who's motivated to work for themselves and has excellent customer service, it's been a win-win for every buyer's agent that we've had.
so let me ask you a question. As you guys grow and scale and you hit that 100 deal mark, you're dealing with a lot, right? You're dealing with a lot of fires. You're dealing with lead generation. You're dealing with management. You're dealing with the leadership. So talk to me. What makes you and your team unique? What's your unique value proposition? And as you've grown, how do you make sure you're still giving that great customer experience as you're dealing with more issues?
So I think it goes back to our company culture is we're passionate and work, and really importantly, finding people who are passionate about helping others, who want a better life and a better business. So as we've scaled, we've had to look step by step of, can we outsource this, make it a little more automated, especially where we do a video email template where we use followupboss.com, where once we move them into the stage of the contract, they get an automated drip campaign of video saying, hey, congratulations, you have an accepted offer. This is what to expect. Hey, congratulations, you have an executed contract. These are the next 3 steps. And then we kind of go, hey, congratulations, your mortgage has been approved. So we outline and future pace what the videos are. So that way, one, especially where we might be running around with 10, 12 buyers or a lot of listings or just anything in general, they get to see us, so they still feel a connection. And if they have any questions, we have our FAQs right behind it, like what happens if an oil tank, or what does it actually mean to do a title search? So we kind of give them a preset campaign, and we're always evaluating it. Yes, we're still checking in, we're doing all those activities, but it just is click of a button and automation. So we're always consistently looking to find more automated ways to keep the experience at such a high level.
Right, I think the video helps elevate it, right?
Yeah.
That's awesome. Pete, Rachel, who'd like to go? Tell us about how do you keep experience?
My thing that I always tell my team is you have to communicate with a client before they communicate with you. So that means that, you know, every step of the way that client knows exactly what's happening before they're asking that question. Because if they have to come to you, you're not doing your job correctly, in my opinion. And we do that through multiple different ways. So in the beginning, they get a booklet that says what's going to happen with the appraisal process, inspections, all those things. And then throughout the process, I have automated emails for both sellers and buyers that go out on a regular basis. And then my agents and me tell the client right up front, this is the day and time that you're going to hear from me every week for an update, because that like tries to keep down some of the they get nervous during the process if you're not communicating. And then as far as my teammates go, I tell them that if they have to come to me with 3 answers to any question before it comes to me. And that helps. So they usually come with the answer or don't come at all, because it helps them troubleshoot it on their own and they figure it out. And the other rule I have is like, if you have some issue with me, you got to come communicate with me. Or if you have an issue with the team, you got to communicate with the others. But it's a 24-hour rule. If there's an issue, we talk it out, and after 24 hours, it's put behind us. Or if you can't do that, then there's consequences. So.
That's great. So Pete, as you scale to over 100 deals and you're washing cars and massages and giving this world-class experience, how do you keep up with that as you scale?
That's been really important to me, and as I've said, there should be things that are your brand, things that consistency is everything for your business, because if you're to be shared, if people are to know you, they need to know exactly what they're getting. So everything I've thought about and everything I've done has been with the end game of it being scalable. So all those things that I provide, the transactional coordinator knows, all right, the deal went under contract box going out. What do you want to say in the handwritten note? And I actually can't handwrite. You would never read what I wrote. So like any handwritten note you get from me, not me, just so you know. But I need to automate it in a way that everyone gets the same thing. Everyone gets the same process, or as you grow, it's going to break down, and then people are not going to get what they expected, and then your business is going to break down. So you have to think about everything you do. I don't care if you're selling 5 houses, and now you're going to go to 10, and then you're going to go from 10 to 20. Everything you implement has to be repeatable once you hit 100, once you hit 200, and you got to think about what that's going to look like. So I have people mailing out those things every week. I don't do it. I don't touch it. I can't do anything. I just know how to sit with people and get to know them. Everything else gets handled by someone else. So that's something I needed for my business, is just finding a way to be consistent and not like, you can't think of what does this person do that I'm going to make this closing gift so special. What are you going to do when you have 100 people? What are you going to do? It has to feel personal but be automated. So that's everything I've been working on and constantly struggling with, so that my brand is consistent.
So let's shift gears a little bit to goals, right? Your personal goals, your team goals. How do you set them? How do you track them? And what are the milestones you look for in hitting those goals? Rachel, you want to kick it off?
Sure. So obviously I do business planning every year, which everybody should be doing that. It's really important. So we have goals that we set for individual agents on the team and for the team as a whole. Everybody knows what those goals are weekly. Everybody knows what those goals are monthly. But the way that we track it and what I find is the most successful, I use a coaching program called Workman Success Systems, and they have a 61-point system. Basically, it outlines what activities that an agent should be doing daily in order to get 61 points. And those activities can be meeting with a buyer, they can be going to a listing appointment, and the points are different for the activities. Like you get more points for a closing. versus just a call. But the goal is to get 61 points a day. It's not as hard as it sounds. I don't expect them to be perfect. But every week, then on our morning huddles, which are 5 days a week, and those are at 8:45, 15 minutes, we check in, see how they're doing that day, check how they're doing, what they're gonna do, what their activities are, and then our Monday meeting, which with my team, all my team and my staff, we check in with them to say how many points they've gotten for the entire week, and that's how we, encourage them to continue moving forward. Follow Up Boss is a great program that I use for my CRM. That also helps track those activities and whether or not those activities are actually working or not, and where we need to improve to get to our goals. And then I always say, if you're face-to-face with 2 people each week, 2 new people each week for an appointment, it doesn't matter if it's a buyer or a listing, you're probably gonna be pretty successful for the year. So breaking those down into small incremental things are a whole lot easier for agents to process and understand, and it does help get to those goals and hold people accountable.
So we take a little more scientific approach. First off, and I know I probably shouldn't say it, but I hate the word goals. It should be commitments, because goals are dreams and commitments are actions. What we do is we call it a 1-3-5. It is a GPS. Now, it is goals to simplify it. 1 goal, 3 priorities, 5 strategies. So it breaks down to listings, leads, and leverage. And we go through, 5 ways that you should be getting listings, 5 ways you should be getting your buyer business, 5 ways you should be creating leverage in your business every week, every month, every year. So we do that for every kind of thing. If you want to focus on social media, we come up with 5 strategies that you have to make commitments that add up to your year. So it goes back to a 4-1-1, 4 weeks, 1 month, 1 year. But especially, I hate the word goals because they're just dreams that never happen, but it's commitments. What are you committing to do so that you have a better life and a better business?
So we've been working very hard on time blocking with my team. So we've been breaking down their goals and then laying out, so like, let's say Sandy sold 30 houses, she now wants to sell 36 houses next year. We laid out where they came from, and then said, all right, we want to go to 36. Let's figure out, you're going to get 9 deals from open houses, both doing the open house and walking the block and door knocking on that. So now we're trying to scale. We actually just started Workman as well. So like this is some of the goals we're doing, is trying to find non-referral business. So we're gonna. She knows. I need to do, if I need 9 deals, I need to do 36 open houses and do these things each time I do open house. So now she's committed to 36 open houses in 12 months. And beg, borrow, steal, she's gonna do it. Then there's 9 deals from this place, and now it's all blocked out so that she knows exactly what she needs to do and when she needs to do it. And that consistency has been huge for each person on my team. So it's been a huge help.
Great. I think everything that what's happening in the market is let's talk about lead generation, because this is my favorite topic. No matter what business you're in, you have to be lead generating. And there's different styles of lead generation, and knowing the 3 of you is you all have a different style. And what I always say to agents, there's not one right way to do it. It's doing what you're good at and really doubling down, tripling down on it, and maximizing that lead generation. So Pete, let's just start with you. Let's talk a little bit about lead generation. What are you doing? There's so many, what systems are you using? CRMs. There's so many lead services out there trying to sell you things and whatever else. Really, and I know you broke down some of it, but really break down your lead generation, what's working for you.
Right, so we build everything off of the referral system, which is we create that ambiance, we create that feeling, and then we never let them leave our lives. Mm-hmm. So I use the Chime CRM to constantly check in, and we throw what we're calling micro events, and it allows us to do good outreach, to do the I call the good guy rule of business is, hey, we actually just did a 90s video game night. So we had Street Fighter 2, we had Mario Kart, we had hundreds of these video games and wine and beer, and my whole team got to call everyone in our sphere, everyone that we've done business with, and just go, hi, we're having 90s video game night. Want to come by? And that's it. And we're just checking in and building that rapport, and we can use the CRM to scale that, to do an email, to do video blasts, to do things like that. And then we do charity stuff. So we're constantly doing things like that to create a reason to call without actually asking for business. I never ask for business. I just remind them that we care about them or we care about the community, and would you like to participate in any of these things?
2 questions off of that. One, what's your social media strategy to help promote those events?
Video. So if you're having an event, I'll send like personal videos to people as well. So I'll call them if they don't answer. Hey Katie, how are you? Just to let you know, it's 90s video game night. Come on down, I'll see you soon. And that's it. I just send that video to somebody. But on social, 2 things happen. One, you want to do the run up, and if you go on Pocket, in my Instagram name is Pocket Pete, Peter Grosso. Facebook is my name. You'll see a preemptive video about the 90s video game night, and then we do a little closing. And it doesn't matter if 5 people come, 1 person comes. It's really about the outreach and saying we're doing it. And I know everyone's terrified about doing stuff because they think no one's going to show. Cole didn't think any of you were coming, just so you know. Yet here you are. But even if they didn't show, the angle of the camera would be so good for social media that it would look like he killed it tonight, which he obviously did, so he didn't need the angles. But it's really about calling people and going, hey, I'm still around, I'm still great, and just doing that type of outreach with your sphere of influence and your former people.
How many micro events do you do a year?
Right now we're doing 2 a month plus charity stuff. So we're doing karaoke night next week if you guys want to come. I do a great my way, just so you know. And so we do that, and we invite a bunch of people. We have a charity. The next event we're doing is the next charity event we're doing is a breast cancer 3D mammogram bus that they're giving away 3D mammograms. So we're not only doing that, but we're allowing local businesses to piggyback off of us, so that it looks like they're throwing the event. So now I'm networking with local businesses and saying, look, here's the flyer. I can add your stuff to the lower third if you want to promote it as if it's you. So it allows them to do their outreach, and now I'm building this massive rapport with all these other businesses.
And how long have you been in the business?
I got my license 6 years ago.
So in 6 years, you're doing over 100 deals basically on referral.
Yeah.
And the reason, so it works. So, and also too, what I think was great about that, well, one more question, Pete. So, someone out here who's trying to grow their business and maybe have done 5 deals in the last 12 months, whatever it might be, they're on a team, they might be listening to this going, well, I haven't done enough deals to be able to create this. Talk about when you were a newer agent and how you sort of used this strategy, because you've only been in business 6 years, and the grand scheme of things is not a long time. When you were a new agent, how did you use this strategy to grow your business?
Frozen yogurt. So simple. So listen, it's all about giving and reaching out and showing them that you care about them. They know you're in real estate. The people around you, just have a little event. Invite your family, invite your friends. Go there and go to the frozen yogurt place. We just did one. It was spectacular. And see the video. The video was hilarious that I did, by the way. I'm very proud of that one. So go on my Instagram. But you just call people and go, hey, I'm having an appreciation event for all the people that root for me, that want to be part of my growth. I'm so excited to be doing this and to be able to help people buy or sell a house. Just come on down, give me a hug, and go on with your life. I'll give you some free frozen yogurt. And you just have that little micro event. Now you're sharing it on social. You look big and successful, and you just create this ambiance on social that you're doing things, and then things will come. But you have to document your journey. You have to get in front of the camera, do it super simple, just grab the thing and say, hey, even if you're scared, be scared. I want you to be scared on the camera, because that's one of the things I don't have, and it's so endearing. When even if you're just like, hey, I'm growing my business, I'm trying to have more of an impact so you guys know that I'm here for you, but this makes me nervous. I'm stepping out of my comfort zone. Do you know how many people that will resonate with, that will root for you, that will follow your videos? So being afraid and not wanting to do it is probably the most valuable thing you have, so do it.
So if you sold me a house a year ago, how many times have I heard from you?
Oh, you hear from me you hear from me at least twice a month, and it's either and that's not if you don't have me on Instagram or Facebook. Then you I'm there for life. So I try to shoot a video. I'm shooting videos constantly, post, so they're seeing me, but it's super simple and easy. And this is an issue I had with some of my buyers is they feel like they're trying to sell, but they're not. I don't, and I just let them listen. I'm like, hey Carl, what's up, bud? We're doing frozen yogurt. You want to come? All right, I'll talk to you soon. That's it. I'm checking in. What's new? They want to talk to me. A lot of times it's like I have to navigate off the phone, not try to get a conversation going.
Right.
It's super simple. You're just providing value and giving. It's the most wonderful, easy, good guy way to get rich.
So I have a question. For those agents looking to get started in some of this stuff, whether it's the car washes, dinner, how expensive was it? Were you able to get some sponsorships from the vendors? How did you approach the vendors to get it started? And was it a good investment? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. One, it's an amazing investment. Let's say with the frozen yogurt, just go, look, I'm going to have a little thing here. I don't know how many people are coming, but can you give me a discount per cup? And they'll do that. And maybe you can get somebody to partner with you and share that expense. I think I'm paying $5 a cup at the thing. But every person that comes, you're taking a picture with them. They're sharing it on social. That for $5 per share, that's great exposure. But even if you share with somebody, you knock it down to $2.50. You do that. But everything I do, every gift I give, I have a deal with that vendor. Not only do I get a discount, like the personal chef, he charges $400 for that night where he comes and does the thing. It's so wonderful. Basically, he comes, he gives you a 3-course meal, he finds out what you like, what's nice, he brings the wine, he's got the stuff that's happening on the palate. I don't know, I don't speak wine, Carl does, so he can explain what happens on the palate, but he creates this very unique experience. For me, it's $150. Don't tell the world, right? But I only pay if they use it. So I'm mailing these things out, I'm sharing these things, I'm networking with these people. So either I'm sitting in their kitchen, I'm co-branding myself in people's kitchens. Every morning they wake up, they're making a bagel, they see my face, right? So I'm constantly branding myself there, but the actual value for both me and them is if they use it, that's the only time I pay. So maybe 1 in 5 uses it, the actual cost is 1/5, right? So I'm getting value from sending it. When they use it, they're so excited, they can't believe it, it's amazing. They already think I'm not making any money with all the gifts I'm giving, so I'm creating that ambiance, but in reality, I'm spending less than you people are. So, do it.
So I did very similar. Every month, now it's every quarter, we do a pop buy item of value. So if you want ideas for every month, go to popbuypeggies.com. She's amazing with it. So in November, I'll do turkey basters. Go to the dollar store and I'll put my card on it with a little back and says, my business is based on your referral. So we're doing agent appreciation. Please don't repeat this. But we're doing a pizza box. And there's going to be 3 items. One's going to be a battery pack charger for them. The other's going to be a pizza slicer. And on it's going to say, no matter how you slice it, we appreciate you. So we've elevated that, but if you don't have those big resources, go to the dollar store, go to Amazon, especially February is go get the sweethearts and say, I'm sweet on referrals. Those are great little cute ways that, you can just implement it, not even just to your past clients. If you don't have them, go to your friends and family. I mean, I put it on a door for one of my best friend's house. His parents called me and said, I've never seen anything like this. They referred me over the last 10 years, 30 clients, just because, and my friend was just put it up on social media and he's like, this is how you make a difference. So like Pete said, it's that experience going over it. You don't have to spend a lot of money. You can just be creative with it. You can have fun with it. Luck of the Irish, lucky for your referrals, all those fun, stuff. It sets you apart. So
changing a little bit on that, referrals, what else are you doing for lead generation? What systems are you using? What does it look like? So if I was to sit in your seat and start lead generating, what do the systems look like? Because I want everyone here to be able to leave and say, okay, I can do X, Y, Z in my lead generation.
So for me, because I'm a cold caller, I recommend you you have to have a dialer. I mean, the calls is the most efficient and effective use of your time. You talk about in-person being the most effective versus sending mailers being the most efficient. So I use Vulcan 7.
Howard, not to cut you off, but for anybody who doesn't, what is a dialer?
Okay.
What is a dialer?
So a dialer is a automated phone where basically you can put all of your cell phone numbers in it, anything like that, select all, begin dial session, and you can call people and drop voicemails and send text messages, and it's just, you can use it on your computer, you can use it on your phone. So the 3 apps that I use that are the most successful for me in the brokerage and my team, Follow Up Boss is great for buyer leads, incoming leads, Vulcan 7 and Mojo. You could use RedX or Espresso, but I find Vulcan 7 is the best and Mojo is next when it comes to finding cell phone numbers. And they have neighborhood searches. And from there, you can then send video emails, text, video email, video text. And it's nice because you can set up reminders, but I do an average about 60 calls an hour. So my team knows, and I'm pretty efficient at it. If I do 1 hour lead gen, I get 1 appointment. Now, average agent usually does between 2 to 3, so I talk to my team about doing lead generation, from 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock when people are home, or do it from 4 to 6, 4 to 7. But if you're not using something that's going to make calling fun, and a game in a sense, and efficient and effective, how many times does it take to dial a number? And for those that remember the rotary phone, imagine doing that and not even leaving a voicemail. So for me, it's all about getting in front of as many people as possible and delivering that service. So that's what I would say.
So who are you calling?
So expireds, FSBOs, my sphere, and I do neighborhood prospecting. So every time we get a listing, our buyer's agent will call, 10, I always say 20, but they do 10, which is fine. 10 forward, 10 back, 10 left, 10 right, and they just say, hey, guess what? You're not gonna believe what your neighbor just did. And then they might be like, oh, okay, great. Then we say, would you like a monthly or quarterly update on your real estate portfolio? Now this is what has kind of changed our business in the last year, where what we do is, just like we do for buyers, we set them up on an MLS search, do the same for a seller. Create them contact, put their address in, do a mile radius, and then do it for every active, every new, every contract, every sold. Because then what happens is, you could do it day by day, but then that gets irritating. But we send out, hey, you're not gonna believe what your neighbor just did. And now we track when they go on the MLS and they like a property. And we'll do a follow-up call behind it and say, hey, what do you think of what your neighbor just did? Or can you believe it went into contract? Or wow, it really sold for this? Then we spin it a little bit and say, so if we could get you the price or higher, would you consider selling? We've gotten probably an additional 10 to 12 listings in the last 8 weeks just from that conversation of they've seen record prices, they've seen no new homes come on the market, but everything's going into contract. So it showed the demand kind of went back up again. So that's where we piggybacked off of dialing them, having a sincere conversation of, would you like to know your real estate portfolio? Not how much is your home worth, but your portfolio. Because then they'll tell us if they have more properties, and they know portfolio means equity. Equity can be, you can do a lot with it. So that's kind of where I would say our structure, our process has really helped us.
I love setting up the seller on a automatic email search, right? Because everybody wants to know what their house is worth. You're giving them the information they want, not just telling them to turn the clock ahead or back at daylight savings time. So that's great.
And I don't even put a criteria to it. I just leave it to their neighborhood. So that way they see a little home that's, nothing. Meanwhile, their house is beautiful, or they see the nothing house is way over what they thought their value was. And now it's just really creating curiosity. It's a self-discovery of, wow, no one's giving me this kind of process.
So let's talk to everybody in the crowd about who's thinking, oh man, do I not want to cold call. You wake up one day just like, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up the phone and call somebody. Like, I love doing that. Like, walk through your progression of from your first day of calling to now.
I still hate cold calling. I'm not going to lie about that. So, in order to have a life of abundance, you got to do things that make you uncomfortable. What got you here is not going to get you there. And at the end of the day with it, if you keep, and this is a great thing about social media, is if you're not adding new people to your database, to your social media, to your followings, you're just remarketing to the same people. And has anyone ever heard the same message 3-4 times and really kind of got sick of it? You need new audience every day. So whether it's cold calling per se, expired, FSBO, open house, door knocking, your sphere, going door to door to businesses, doing client appreciation events, which we do that too, where we do trunk or treat and we do free picture with Santa. So you have to find a way to balance your business, whether you're day one or day 1,000. I can tell you, we all are learning things that from day one, it's that first step. Look, I can tell you, I hung up the phone probably 6 times before I made that first phone call. And I used the white pages to actually find phone numbers before I found out about Vulcan and Mojo. So it can be done.
What's been your biggest return on your lead gen?
You mean in terms of investment, or would you say just sweat equity?
Investment, sweat equity, what is, when you look in the beginning of the year, you look throughout the year, this lead generation tactic is going to get you the biggest return?
So I would say Vulcan 7 is $300 a month. The fact that it gives us cell phone numbers where you don't have to pay for companies like Intellius or that'sthem.com, it is hands, and Forewarn is actually very good too. If you don't have that, that's $14.99. Where you're able to find people's phone numbers so that you can really build that connection faster than anyone else, that has been the best investment. The best return is picking up the phone and just talking to everybody I know. There's no other higher return than the work you put in.
You unpacked a lot there. No, I appreciate that. How about Rachel? How about you with your lead generation? You said you were using Follow Up Boss. What's kind of been the biggest return? And anyone who's kind of struggling or getting started, what kind of advice do you have for them with lead generation?
Sure. So I'll start with, I've pretty much done everything. And I think it's important probably to have at least 2 or 3 pillars that you enjoy doing, or you're disciplined enough to do it. Because otherwise, if you don't do it, it doesn't matter, right? But as far as lead generation and buying leads online, one tip I would say is, a good rule of thumb is you should have 6 times the return on your investment from whatever lead generation that you're paying for. And that also means, though, that you have 6 times more, more time spent in actually turning that lead. So that's a good example of like, hey, when you're evaluating what is a good lead source for, and you're deciding if you want to pay for a lead source, you can take that number and look at it, but then you have to go actively after those people because it's going to take you a whole lot more time than your sphere. So I am a big sphere person. I did not build my business without the support of my clients, and I do not forget about that. I do events, I do all of that stuff. But I also, again, think it has to be a little bit diversified on what you're doing in order to continue to scale your business if you want to grow, depending on how hard you want, how high you want to go in the business. Unless you're like Pete here, who has 2 events every month and shakes hands with all those business people, because that's how he's actually going out and cold calling, by meeting new people, because you can't just stay with your sphere. You have to add to your sphere. Whatever way you're going to do that, and you're going to do it well, and you're going to enjoy it, is going to be the best return on your investment.
Got it. I think this is a good time to see, do we have any questions from anyone out there that they want to ask the panelists about lead generation? You know, I'm going to pop down here. Hopefully I'm not going to fall.
I have a question for Howard. What time do you do cold calling, and what is the most success key?
Absolutely. So 7:30 to 8 is when I scrub my list, you know, to make sure that it's not active. Obviously, we don't want to call active listings. My intent is from 8 to 9 at the very least, because people are home, they're getting ready for work. If you're not able to do it from 8 to 9, then look from 4 or 5 to 6 when people are getting home. The lunch hour is good. What I've found is people will answer the phone, and as long as you come from contribution, you know, and I'll kind of give you my script a little bit, is hi, is this Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so? I'm always actively listening. They say, yes. Hi, it's Howard Payson from Remax. How are you? I always sound positive. I always sound chipper. Even if I'm not that morning, I'm faking it a little bit, because they hear that enthusiasticness. You know, really, when you're on the phone or even meeting someone, you have 5 seconds to grab their attention. And you have to be enthusiastic as heck. You have to be deemed credible. And you have to show what you're going to do to help them. So my top script for any expired is, you know, I see your home came off the market, and, you know, I'm just curious, why do you think it didn't sell? Now, they're never going to say price, and I'm immediately evaluating their listing. Now, for example, for sale by owners, I love Zillow. I don't like Zillow per se, and we all don't, but that's another story. But I'll say, hey, I see your home is for sale on Zillow, and I just wanted to know, is that actually true? Because by show of hands, how accurate is Zillow? Nobody showed. Oh, okay, there we go. So when they say, well, what do you mean? I say, well, you know, Zillow is inaccurate. Anybody can put up a listing. You know, it's like the Craigslist of real estate. With that said, are you asking this price? Yes. Great. If I could help you get the right price plus my fee on top of that, you know, would you be open to working with an agent? I get appointments every day. Every day if I hit a for sale by owner just like that. They're like, what do you mean? I said, well, if I can get you what you need to walk away with and where you want to go, does it make sense? Now let's say, no, I don't want to use a realtor. Well, I said, well, I'm just curious, where are you going to go? Because maybe I can help you find the place that you can't find right now on your own. Because again, I'm calling off-market properties that a typical agent can't find. So then I'll say, great, well, why don't I stop by for 15 minutes and let's talk about what you're looking for. Never did I say, hey, sign a listing. Never did I say, hey, come over. All I just would love is 15 minutes clocked. If after 15 minutes you don't want me to be there, you can kick me out. No one's ever actually kicked me out. But again, it's just given them some comfort because they're getting hit with sales skepticism. So immediately future pacing them that I'm not there to just cold call or try and get an appointment. I'm there to find out what their concerns are and what their goals are and how I can help be the answer. So it's more of a self-discovery. So I would say just even on the weekends, holidays I love, except for Christmas. I'm born on Christmas. Figure out when people are home, because while everybody else is taking Labor Day off, people are home doing their prep, they're answering the phones, and they're willing to talk. So I would say figure out when people are home and talk to them then.
That's great advice. And Rachel, you touched on something before about paid services. And you said about looking for a 6-time return. I love that, because how many agents said, well, if I could just break even, it's worth it, right? Mm-hmm. What's some paid services that you and your team have had luck with?
Currently, we're using a service called I'm going to botch this, Reevaluate. It's one of the newest ones that we're using, and that's, I tried to look it up here, but I think it's Revaluate. Those are seller leads, so it's all based on Google algorithms on who's potentially going to sell. And the thing that I like about it is they take into consideration Google, but also Facebook and Instagram, and they look for things that are happening in people's lives that are generally before they sell. So you're trying to capture them before they sell, because people have babies and then their house starts getting smaller and smaller, and so it looks for things like that. That is a nice one because you can do circle prospecting. You can choose zip codes or areas that you want to farm, essentially. And then we get the information on a weekly basis of leads, and my agents call them. That's been really successful. It doesn't always have phones, but it does have addresses, names, and phone numbers sometimes, and then also emails. So we can start campaigns like seller forms. So
Love it.
And a free website to find phone numbers that Olivier and I have talked about, we've had really good luck with, is truepeoplesearch.com. It's a free site, and to us, it gives the best information on phone numbers.
Correct.
That was really great. That was reevaluate.com for potential seller leads. Does anyone have any other questions that they want to ask the panelists at this point? This is as fast as I go.
Pete, for the 2 times on average a month that you're reaching out to your database, can you give some examples of what you're doing those times?
Like what the parties are? So we just had 90s night. Like we're doing karaoke night. We had the yogurt event. What else have we had? I don't know. Stuff like that.
It's on your Instagram.
What else
Yeah.
what else
Check the Insta.
What else are you touching them with besides the micro event?
So we do I call it the triple quarterly. We once a quarter we do a drop off. So we pay someone to go to the dollar store, create something nice. They have our database. She drives around and she drops them off at their doorstep. And then we do the charity events.
Great. Any other questions?
Behind you.
Question for the 3 of you. How do you ask for the close for both buyers and sellers?
How do you ask for the close?
I don't. I look at it as multiple different softs where it's kind of, are you ready to proceed? Especially if it's paperwork. One thing that we actually were talking about last night is, everybody looks at, result conversion where, it's that they bought or sold. And, it's really about, and I know I can speak for the rest of my colleagues, it's all about giving and having the best experience, not only for our clients, but for us. Like, I can tell you, the daunting task of calling people every day stinks. How I really look at it is that I would be doing anyone a disservice if I didn't call them. Why? Because I know in my hearts of hearts I can help someone get to the next step. Because clearly if they're a hand raiser and they have an interest, they want a lifestyle change. They're not happy where they are. Well, it's our job not to sell them on that, it's to consult them and help them realize what they truly want. So when I look at it, it's not really a sale per se, it's more of a self-realization that I'm gonna be one of the resources that they're using to continue their dream, to continue their life. So I wouldn't look at it, say, as a single event of, hey, are you ready to sign a listing with me? I'd say, hey, are we ready to work together and get you off to the next chapter? So that might be a little bit of a mindset change on that.
Yeah, well, hi.
Hi, I'm Pocket Pete. How'd I do?
I don't know what I do. I walk in. First thing I want to do is one, I bring cannolis, so I'm done. It's over at that point.
Tell 'em the cannolo.
Or many cannolos. Yeah, many single cannolo. Yeah, so first I show up with a gift. I show up with, because my mother taught me never show up empty-handed. Then they want to show me the house. I say, no, let's go sit down. And I want to get to know what their goals are. I want to understand what their challenges are, and then guide them. I don't show up as a salesman. I show up wanting to genuinely know what they want to do, how they got to this point in their life, and where they want to go. And then we just sit and chat about it, and then we break bread or cannoli or whatever, and then by the end of it, and we were saying this at dinner last night, a lot of times it's at the end of the appointment where they want to sign, and then we realize we never even looked at the house. So I really just make it about that person's goals, their life, their humanity, and by the end of it, we're a team. I'm showing up as already part of the team, and so it just naturally just progresses to how they're asking me, how do we get started? I said, well, you could sign here.
Awesome. We have a question back here.
Hi, this question is for, how are you sending your videos? Are you sending your personalized videos? Are you sending them through BombBomb, through email, or just a simple text?
It depends. So there's a lot of text video. I send a lot of text video. So even after a date, I'll send a text. Hey, it was I'm constantly doing that because it creates if I get a text message from my client or there's any type of interaction where I have to type a paragraph, I want to say it. Because I want to be able to look them in the eye. I want them to understand my tone, understand really what I'm trying to get across to them, because there's a lot of nuance to what we're saying and the tonality that it comes from that gets missed with the text message. So I found guiding people, connecting people, closing people, all comes from showing them who you are and explaining to them exactly what they need to do in the way that guides them in a way if they were sitting in front of you. So I want to give that personal experience as close as I can.
Hi guys, I have a question. Carl SanFilippo, Remax. So the natural progression in agent business is become a team leader, correct? So I've had this when I was a team leader challenge. I want to see how you guys handle this. And this goes into lead generation. Is you're supplying leads for agents. What do you do to keep those agents accountable? Like you would keep yourself accountable on those leads you're paying for, so that you ensure that you're getting that 6 times return of what you should be as the team leader. If you could just kind of, because I think some people in this room might have struggled with that over the years. So what do you guys do to help keep your team accountable on your lead gen?
So I really look at, especially who the person is and what their style is. So you have to look at everybody as an individual, but also accountability. I can tell you from when we pay for Sierra leads, if they're more buyer focused, I teach them that it's a contact sport. That, it's used to be a 50-to-1 ratio that you would talk to 50 people and you get one. Now it came out, it's about 110 to 120 leads per one deal per year.
Howard, I don't mean to cut you off.
Yeah.
What is a Sierra lead? That's 50-to-1.
Yeah, so Sierra is our chime or our website with our Google PPC and our Facebook leads. But whether you're doing Zillow, Trulia, Realtor.com, OpCity, or Facebook or Google or any website, an online lead or a stranger it used to be a 50-to-1 ratio. NAR came out about 6 weeks ago that it's about 125 leads to 1 conversion. So it's a very long game. Now I can tell you, someone like Pete's probably like a 3-to-1 for the people he knows. For every 3 people, he's getting some kind of referral, he's getting some business. But for the average agent, it used to be 12-to-1, now it's probably about 20-to-1. So depending on what your process and your team's process is, if you're focused on referrals, you need to know that for every 20 people you talk to, you're gonna get business. So if you're not hitting that metric, then it really comes down to either effort or skills. Because if you're in the game, you know, especially if you follow baseball, to be in the Hall of Fame, you got to hit 3 out of 10. That means you stink 7 other times. That would be an online lead kind of thing. But if you're hitting 1 out of 1, it's a lot harder. So how we hold people accountable is we really look at, on a weekly basis, how many at-bats are you getting? How many times, you know, are you putting yourself in a position to have meaningful conversations? If you're doing expireds and for sale by owners, and everybody's calling them, it's harder. So you have to find ways to differentiate yourself by being enthusiastic, by saying the right things at the right time, and that's through self-discovery with the right questions. I don't really make any statements. It's really, hey, what are you trying to do? What is the point of this? And how can I show you through logical thinking that I'm your resource? So to kind of the accountability is, why aren't you making your calls? Why aren't you doing your you know, pop-bys? Why aren't you doing the activities that you committed yourself to doing? And that's kind of how we hold leads accountable per se, and team members, and ourselves.
How about you, Rachel? What do you do with your team in the accountability part?
Well, I rarely work with buyers anymore, just because my schedule doesn't allow for me to service them in the way that they need to be serviced, in my opinion. So I pass on a lot of my sphere now, which I think can be more difficult, and took me a long time to realize how to do that, and to do that in a way that the client feels comfortable. But it starts with putting them in systems. So there's, you know, specific systems that I want all the buyers to go through. But then I do take initial calls a lot of times, because they'll call me first. And then how I present my team agent is really key to that. I do tell the client that I'm going to check in every once in a while. And then I also make it very clear with my team agents that they have to update me if they have any anticipation that somebody's getting frustrated. Because the last thing I want to do is have a past client start to get upset. And I've had it probably 2 times in my career where someone will call and say, Rachel, you know, we just felt like you dropped us. And I learned my lesson right then on how to make improvements to that. So, but I would say it's how you present it, and then it's how you stay in touch during the process, check in every once in a while. And if it's a really good client, a lot of times I have my team agent copy me on emails, so that you know, I may not read every single detail on them, but that client feels like I'm still involved in the process.
Pocket, real quick. You have a team member. How do you keep them accountable on the leads you're giving them? Do you have a system for it?
I got to keep myself accountable to check in and make sure that I'm seeing how much I'm spending, and really listen to their calls. Like on Zillow, you can listen to their calls and really see where their language is struggling, and how to help them help the buyer help themselves, which is a skill set in itself. But I'm constantly in contact with them, and they're constantly in contact with me because I tend to be the person with the words for them. So they'll constantly, here's the situation, what do I say? And so I'm constantly hearing and guiding them and kind of honing in on what they're doing. But just to piggyback on what Rachel said, when it comes to me handing somebody an actual referral that comes through me, I always make sure, because I don't want them to feel abandoned, I don't want them to feel like I'm just throwing them to someone else. I always do a sit down, an initial sit down with myself. I teach this is what's going to happen as you're going through the whole process, and this is Sandy, and we're all a team. And then so when we all have that warm sit down, then it's so much easier for them to go out in the world and just keep me in the loop. So that's helped tremendously.
Awesome.
Question to Pete. Unpack to us, what's your side job? Real side job to be able to afford those massages and chocolate. No, I'm just kidding. So question to all of you guys. Do you delegate your cold calling to your assistants? And if you do, what's the success rate?
So in New York, it's a little difficult to have a virtual assistant. They have to be licensed to do an activity. I've dabbled with it. I found great success in it. I delegate part of my check-in calls to my clients, to my TC, because she introduces herself right away and they handle the process, and then I will do a check-in. But my team members are not buyer specialists or listing specialists, they're associates. So they're responsible to generate buyers and sellers. It really depends on their focus. So some people like doing it a little bit more in terms of sellers, some people want buyers. So we kind of have a hybrid. We've looked at the VA system. We've had people who have done great success with it that realize they can make a lot more money being an agent. And it's kind of an intro program where you can be an outside sales agent, which is the VA of calling, and really gone through. So in New York, it's a little more complicated. I don't know how Jersey is. You have to check with your, Carl and Department of State on that.
I've made 4 cold calls and knocked on 2 doors, so I'm really not the guy for this.
I also do not cold call anymore. I did earlier on in my career, but I don't anymore, so I do delegate them to my team associates. So.
Great. Oh, thank you. Hi, my name is Axel. I have a question for our panelists. With all the doom and gloom sayers out there saying we might go into recession and interest rates hikes are going to price out buyers out of certain market segments, where do you see, particularly in the next 12 to 18 months, the market is going? Question 1. And question 2, then, what are you particularly and your teams doing to prepare yourself for that market condition?
I'm excited, to be honest. I can't wait for the market shift. All I can say really, and I touched upon this, is our business is finding the motivated. It really comes down to method versus your message, right? 6 months ago, a year ago, we were saying, guys, we have so many buyers, we need sellers, right? And we're gonna get to a balanced market, and then we're gonna hopefully not go too big, but a buyer's market in some aspects. So it's gonna be finding motivated buyers. Well, who are gonna be our motivated sellers? People that need to sell, right? There's always gonna be the greedy person who says, my house is worth $2 million and it's worth maybe $250. But when you look at finding the motivated sellers, okay, short sales, people that have life circumstances, marriage, divorce, buying and selling, job relocation, versus the buyers where, okay, maybe the first time home buyer is a little bit more pickier, but investors are gonna be back, right? They're gonna see value in a lower price and paying cash, and then fixing and flipping or fixing and holding. So as far as a market shift goes, I think it really comes down to, and this is what my team and I have really talked about, is when we do our monthly email where we talk about the video email of the market, we really start changing our message of, hey, have you lost your job recently? Do you know someone who's struggling? How can we help them? Because ultimately, unfortunately, we do know that some people are gonna have to sell. That maybe they bought 3-4 years ago, or job loss, or things happen in life. So what I would say is start thinking about what upcoming market you're gonna see and what your message is gonna be. Because that's gonna future pace you against everything else that's happening, and you're gonna always succeed in any market, whether it's a buyer market, seller market. Real estate transactions happen, guys. Like, yes, some people do more and some people do less. I prefer to be doing the more. I hope you all will do more too.
I will piggyback that. I'm excited. I am not concerned. I also went through the first downturn and watched, many of you probably did too, I watched how agents started to recreate their businesses, and a lot of them turned out to be more successful in that time frame. And of course, some of the 1 and 2 deal agents then drop off. So that's helpful for all of you guys for competition. But as far as what my team is doing is we're turning up the volume to grab more market share. I mean, that's really what I think is the most important. As the market sort of recalibrates, that's when agents freeze. They get nervous and they stop doing the activities that they need to do. And so I think staying focused and just turning up the volume on grabbing more market share, and then staying positive is also important. The messaging that we put out to our consumers makes a difference in how hesitant people are to list or buy. And so I think this is the time where we need to be professionals in the industry and hold steady and keep people positive.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't care. I don't even feel like I'm in the real estate business. I'm in the problem-solving business. The problems are evolving and changing, and I'm going to solve whatever problems come my way. I just happen to get paid when it's real estate, but I'm solving problems. I'm excited for my buyer's agents because for the last 2 years, I'm listing houses and it's selling like that, and they're running around and they're one of the 50 offers, and now all of a sudden they can go back to all those people and say, congratulations, now you can get a house. Now we'll be one of 2 offers or one of 1 offer, and we'll be able to get you something, and guess what? Guess what? If the rates come down, you can refi. If they go up, you beat it. You're the winner. So there's really no downside. It's perspective and it's understanding. It's just a new set of problems for you to solve. That's what you do. Solve it.
And that's how he closes. Right?
Exactly.
That's how he closes it.
One thing we talked about last night at dinner that we didn't really touch on today is confidence, right? And it goes back to a question here about closing, and it's going for the assumptive close and just being confident. I know, Rachel, you talked about that. Can you just quickly touch on that?
Confidence. I don't know if I remember what I said last night.
That's good.
But yeah, confidence is important, I think. And I was going to say something earlier about when you are in an appointment. If you do it when you're trying to serve a client, if you go in there and you're confident in that meeting and you walk in and you know your information, your stuff, like what I say to agents is you need to know your stats. You need to be adding skills, adding a skill set that consumer doesn't have. And if you go into that meeting and you're confident in that meeting, and then at the end you just say you find their pain points and you say to them, I can solve this pain point for you, and you're confident with that. And then at the end, all you need to say to them is, was there anything that I didn't mention today that would not allow you to want to work with me? And that's a question, but it's also a close, right? And they don't know what to say at that point because they're like, no, you answered everything. And so if I've answered everything and I'm confident, then why wouldn't you list with me, right? So I don't know if that answers what I said.
No, nailed it.
No, so, and respect to everyone's time, we're gonna have one last question, and then if you guys have any more questions, feel free to ask. Again, we just wanna respect everybody's time. The question is this: some people are sitting here listening, oh wow, 100 deals. I'm so busy doing 20 deals, I couldn't imagine what my life would be like doing 100 deals time-wise. So talk to us a little bit about what your day looks like, how it's structured, how you structure your week, so you're able to have a good balance of work and life. Because to me, that's just as important as anything else.
Okay, this is what I think you were getting at, the confidence. And this speaks to what you just said, Carl. When you set up your schedule, when you have your perfect week and you have time slots in there, do not be afraid to say no. This appointment is not going to work for me at this time. And that helps with that abundant life thing. So I have my perfect week. It's never perfect, right? But I say these are the time slots that I can meet with sellers. And I don't compromise on that very often. And so because I don't compromise on that, I don't work nights and weekends nearly as much, or at least I'm not at appointments. But what you just need to do is you need to say to someone, this time and this time is the time that works for me. Because you're a professional and you need to be confident about your schedule. Plus, you don't want to tell them you're available all the time because that means you don't have any other clients. So,
for me, it's eat my frog. It's make my calls, because once I do that, I know I've taken one step to growing the business every day. Not every day is a win, but I'm always consistent with it. I take Tuesdays, Fridays, and Saturday afternoons off to spend time with my 3-year-old. So for me, it's really getting what I have to get done in the time that I do it. And what I can tell you is the more money you have, the more money you can invest to get your time back. And that was kind of where I started, 11 years ago, when I had someone that wouldn't show up to take care of my father at 12 o'clock at night, and I would have to do the night shift. I needed to get listings because listings created leverage so that I could take care of my family. So you can, look, personally, I managed 30 to 40 listings, seller clients on my own, plus the 120 agents that I work with. Buyers for me is more sphere-based. I won't take a buyer unless they're a current seller or they personally know me for years. That's where my team comes in. But in order to have more than you want, to have more, you have to do more, but you have to be laser focused. So look at your schedule, pick your spots, and nail it.
Hi. So, this is something that I've grown and gotten so much better at since Carl and I were sitting one day, and he's sitting there relaxed, calm, enjoying his life, and my phone rang probably 30 times while we're just sitting there.
It gave me major anxiety how much your phone was ringing.
So and he's like, I can go golfing now if I want. So I had to figure out how to add value in a way like Carl does to my world and still have the time. Actually, I was taking value away from my clients because I couldn't get to every call. So I learned the repeatable things. Again, it's about repeatable things. It's about the simple things that I could do to offset all those answered questions that were the same. Like, let's say I had a listing that the questions were universal. I gave someone else a phone number and they answered it and they knew the answers to the questions. I only answer the complicated questions. If there's something about your listing or something about some information that you have that you can make a video and just send it to people, then you've bought back all that time. So I've learned how to leverage my time with technology, with growing my team and giving them more responsibility, and in turn they're getting better and they're growing.
Do me a favor in the crowd. If you picked up one thing today, let's give a round of applause to our panelists. Couple housekeeping notes before we open it up to some more questions. Is next month we're doing a training up in Garwood at the Westwood. Michelle Gibson from our leadership team is going to be doing the training, and it's all going to be about acquiring market share in the luxury market. So keep an eye out for that training because it's going to be a phenomenal one. Also, too, is we just asked if you got a little bit of good value out of today. Over there by the wall, Art, Jason, Victoria, they're going to be there. If you could just drop a little testimonial of how much you enjoyed the event, we would really appreciate it. And are there any other questions out there before we wrap it up? Feel free to ask anything. As you can tell, they're not too shy to share. So does anyone have any further questions before we wrap it up?
And don't forget to connect with our panelists on social media. You guys want to quickly shout out your social media accounts?
Pocket Pete, Peter Grosso on Instagram, and just Peter Grosso on Facebook. I think I have 100 people left before I hit that 5,000 mark, if you want to.
Add them quick.
Yeah. Let's get him there today.
Mine's RayDay55 for Insta and for Facebook.
Howard Payson and Agent Coaching Academy.
So question.
Thank you guys. I heard a lot about what you're doing when you're on, so I want to know when are you off and how much time do you take off to recharge?
So for me, usually every afternoon is kind of an off. It's for me laser focused the morning, get it done. So if I have an appointments, I can do it, but then again, Tuesday, Friday, Saturday afternoons, I take off to just spend time with my family. So that's kind of an off for me. But there's a lot of times where I get my appointments early on the late morning, the 11 o'clock, done by 1 o'clock, and let my day take where it may be.
I also am off almost every afternoon and evening. but I'm still doing some work, but I'm not working with clients. I schedule my day with green times, yellow times, and red times. And so my green times are I'm on it, and this is, I'm at the top of my game that day during those green times. Those yellow times, I try to put things that are a little bit simpler to do, but don't take as much energy. And then my red times, I try to take off. And so I think that varies for every person. So you kind of have to look at your day and say, all right, and time block based on when you're going to be on it and you're going to be at your best self. But as far as vacationing goes, I try to fit in at least 4 weeks a year.
So, if I'm not with my kids and if I'm not in the gym at 5, I go to the gym like 5:30 in the morning, then I'm working and I love it. And I'm a little bit of an anomaly here, I guess, but I want to do this. There's certain things I don't want to do I'm not doing that now, but I will call friends that are in the business and just talk business and strategy, and it's an intense passion of mine. So it's also my hobby. So I don't know what I do like that.
Pete's on vacation right now.
Yeah,
Yes.
this is it,
Exactly.
yeah. This is my time off, and I'm loving every second of it.
Yes.
All right, let's give another big round of applause for our panelists.